Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into a seriously exciting project to kickstart your Mandarin Chinese journey. We are going to learn how to literally crack the code of everyday communication. Whether you're a grade 7 student just starting out or an absolute beginner of any age aiming for fluency, navigating a totally new language can feel, well, kind of like trying to solve a giant puzzle. But hey, it doesn't have to be overwhelming. We're going to take the foundational concepts from the very first units of the HSK pathway, that's the official standardized test for Chinese as a second language, and turn them into a totally practical, actionable listening checks mini project. We'll be looking closely at pronunciation, classroom essentials, and everyday conversations to set you up for absolute success. Let's get into it. So here's our game plan for today. We'll cover the meaning of tones, go over our listening project steps, do a model analysis of an HSK text, run a misconception check on sound traps, and finally end with an exit question for your turn. Okay, Section 1, the meaning of tones. This brings us to our essential question for Unit 1. How exactly do pronunciation and tone change meaning in Mandarin Chinese? Think about it. If you want to confidently introduce yourself or just follow simple directions, you have to realize that listening in Mandarin is kind of like tuning an old-school radio dial. You have to catch the exact frequency, the tone, to hear the real meaning. A flat tone versus a falling tone, that creates two completely different words. It's a pretty incredible system, but it means you've got to actively tune your ears right from day one.
Moving right along to Section 2, Listening Project Steps.
Now that we know tones really hold the key to everything, let's lay out the exact strategy for your listening checks mini project. We can break this whole task down into 3 manageable, detective-like steps based right on our Unit 1 and 2 outcomes. You definitely don't have to understand every single thing at once. Step 1, recognize the sound. Spot the tones and the pinyin. Step 2, catch the basic vocabulary and context, like hearing a greeting or a number. And finally, Step 3, take those recognized sounds and piece together the actual dialogue to interpret what's being said. It's a really nice progressive decoding process.
All right, Section 3, Model Analysis of an HSK Text.
Let's see how this all builds in the real world by applying our detective steps to the HSK itself. This beautifully illustrates how we use our listening checks in practice. By reading that middle column, the pinyin romanization, you can actually spot the vocabulary for everyday life. For instance, listen for the phrase for life scenarios, 生活场景. In HSK Level 1, the standard is simply using Chinese for simple communication in those 生活场景. But step up to HSK 2, and we expand that to life, study, and work scenarios for basic communication. Using your new detective steps, you just listen for the pinyin and tones, identify the context, and boom, suddenly you actually understand the dialogue.
Now, I want to pause here for just a second, because I've mentioned pinyin a few times. Pinyin is absolutely your best friend right now. It's the official phonetic system for transcribing the Mandarin pronunciations of Chinese characters into the Latin alphabet. So basically, it uses the letters you already know to teach you how to pronounce the characters you don't know yet. Recognizing pinyin alongside those tones is a massive core outcome for unlocking the meaning of any Mandarin sentence.
And here's why this matters so much. Mastering these listening checks right now builds your foundation to reach much higher goals, like the official HSK Level 3 standard. The ultimate goal here is to use Chinese for effective communication. Notice that progression? We move from simple to basic, and now to truly effective communication. You simply can't have an effective exchange if you aren't correctly identifying those tones and basic vocabulary first. Your mini project is quite literally the stepping stone to this level of fluency. Okay, on to Section 4, Misconception Check on Sound Traps. Before you head off to practice, we really need to address a major trap. This one catches a ton of 7th grade beginners, and honestly, adult beginners too. You have to compare Mandarin sounds with English sounds very carefully. Think about it. In English, if your voice goes up at the end of a sentence, it just shows emotion, right? Or it turns a statement into a question. It absolutely does not change the actual dictionary definition of the word. But in Mandarin, changing the tone changes the entire meaning of the word. If you apply English speaking habits to Mandarin, you might try to say mother with a high flat tone, ma, but accidentally use a dipping tone, ma, and, well, call her a horse. I promise you, she won't be thrilled about that. You really have to treat the tone as part of the word's spelling. Finally, Section 5, your turn, the exit question.
We've reached the point where it's time to take everything you've just learned about tones, pinyin, and our detective steps and put it into action. In Unit 2, you transition from just knowing basic classroom language to handling real, everyday communication needs. You're going to need to listen for and interpret short dialogues about family and school routines, recognize numbers and dates, discuss food, and manage common interpersonal exchanges. Every single one of these relies entirely on you catching the right tone and recognizing the basic vocabulary in context.
So I'm going to leave you with this final challenge for your mini project. How can a beginning learner actually handle everyday communication needs using these listening checks? How will you use your brand new detective skills to listen for the tones, spot the vocabulary, and successfully script your own everyday conversations? Keep that English sound trap in mind, rely heavily on your pinyin, and start tuning your ears to the exact frequency of Mandarin. I seriously can't wait to see how you crack the code. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and happy learning!